was 5 or 6, playing on the kitchen floor. Mom was doing dishes like she'd done 1,000 times before. That little spray hose had been giving her a fight. Dad had clamped it back together, said he'd get the parts right. But she'd asked him more than once, get the pieces, fix that thing. He'd say he'd get around to it, life got busy in between. But that afternoon the little hose decided to come loose, and Mom was about to show us all exactly what she could do. 1 foot on the floor, 1 foot in the sink, white shirt soaking wet, and she didn't stop to think. She grabbed that stubborn hose and pulled with all her might. And I watched my mother take that kitchen into a fight. She'd pull the sprayer out and turn the hot water on. Then the hose broke loose and all the calm was gone. It whipped around like a wild snake, spraying everywhere. Hot water hit the counter and it soaked my mother's hair. She reached up and killed the faucet, and that hose dropped in the sink. She stood there dripping wet, and I didn't dare to blink. She grabbed that hose with both her hands and started pulling hard. 1 foot planted on the kitchen floor, 1 foot up inside the sink. 1 foot on the floor, 1 foot in the sink, white shirt soaking wet, and she didn't stop to think. She grabbed that stubborn hose and pulled with all her might. And I watched my mother take that kitchen into a fight. 1 foot on the floor, 1 foot on the floor, 1 foot in the sink, 1 foot in the sink. She pulled until she puffed, then she reached into the drawer. And I still remember thinking. She pulled the top drawer open, and there it was in sight, a big old butcher knife. She grabbed it with her right. She held that hose with one hand, her foot still in the sink, raised that knife above her head, and before I had a chance to blink, whack! 2 pieces on the counter, and Mom walked away. When Dad came home from work, Mom was sitting at the table. She said, "I'm tired of that old hose now, fix it if you're able." He looked beside the kitchen sink and saw the pieces there, the nozzle and the severed hose. Mom had left them there. He picked them up and headed out to Sears in the nearby town. Walked inside and showed the man what Mom had just cut down. The salesman asked what happened. Dad told him every bit. The salesman laughed and said, "Well, I guess that settles it." He said, "Hell, that story's payment enough. Take those parts and go home and make up with your wife." 1 foot on the floor, 1 foot on the floor, 1 foot in the sink, 1 foot in white shirt soaking wet, and I can still see her every time I think. She was young and she was beautiful, and she loved us all so much. But that little kitchen hose just pushed her One time too much, 1 foot on the floor, 1 foot in the sink, and a butcher knife was all it took. Now we laugh about it whenever we get together. Somebody tells the story and we all remember her. That little kitchen, that little hose, that young woman in the sink. 1 foot on the floor, 1 foot on the floor, 1 foot in the sink,